He pulls something out of his pocket and he slit my throat. And as he's slitting my throat, he says, "Shh, don't scream, stay calm." And I didn't scream. I wake up every morning wondering if today is gonna be the day that Chris will summon someone to have fun killing me. I am here again, terrified. If he's ever released, there is no doubt in my mind he will come for me and he will finish what he started. Please help me keep my kids safe.
The Silent Scream, a true crime story of survival against all odds. Blood drips into a pool on the car floor. A mother clutches her throat with one hand, steering with the other, her 2-year-old son in the back seat. She has minutes, maybe seconds before she bleeds out. But this isn't a random attack. The man sitting beside her, the one who just slit her throat from ear to ear, is someone she once promised to love forever. If you're fascinated by true crime stories that defy belief, hit that subscribe button because what happens next will leave you speechless. Tiffany Mead is only 22 years old, but she's already living the life she's worked so hard to build. After escaping a toxic marriage, she's juggling full-time work and night classes, determined to create a better future for her 2 young sons, Tyler and Ethan. Her parents have welcomed her back home with open arms, and for the first time in years, Tiffany feels like she can finally breathe. It's a warm summer evening in Davis County, Utah, the kind of night where families gather for backyard barbecues and kids play until the streetlights come on. For most people in this quiet community, July 23rd, 2013 is just another peaceful Tuesday. But for Tiffany, this night will become the dividing line between the life she knew and a nightmare she'll carry forever. She's reluctant about tonight's meeting. Her estranged husband, Chris Ertman, has been texting her all day, insisting he needs to give her a child support check in person. Their relationship has deteriorated so badly that they mostly communicate through text messages now. Every instinct tells Tiffany to refuse, but she needs that money. She's a single mother trying to make ends meet, and Chris knows it. Don't bring anyone his text messages read. Come alone. The messages repeat throughout the day, each one more insistent than the last. At the last minute, Tiffany texts back that she'll have to bring 2-year-old Ethan. She has no babysitter. Chris reluctantly agrees, but changes the meeting location to an isolated park on the outskirts of town. Red flags wave in Tiffany's mind, but she dismisses them. This is the father of her children. Surely, he just wants privacy to avoid any drama. As she buckles Ethan into his car seat and pulls out of her parents' driveway, Tiffany has no idea she's driving toward her own execution. Asterisk, 11:30 p.m., July 23rd, 2013, asterisk. The park is exactly as isolated as Tiffany feared. No streetlights illuminate the empty lot, no other cars are around, just darkness and the sound of crickets chirping in the summer night. She parks her car and watches as Chris pulls up in his vehicle, parking several spaces away. They walk toward each other in the darkness. That's when Tiffany sees it, something in Chris's eyes that makes her blood run cold. His expression is hard, determined, almost robotic. This isn't the man she married. This is someone else entirely. I was terrified, Tiffany will later tell investigators. He had this look. He was so determined coming at me. I didn't know what he was going to do. Before she can react, Chris grabs her in a bear hug and backs her against her car door. His hand clamps over her mouth. She feels something sharp against her throat. Then the world explodes in pain. The blade moves across her neck in one swift, deliberate motion from one side to the other, cutting deep through skin, muscle, and tissue. Blood pours from the wound immediately, soaking her shirt, running down her chest in warm streams. "Shh," Chris whispers against her ear as he slits her throat. "Don't scream, stay calm." And, incredibly, she doesn't scream. The shock is too great, the blood loss too rapid. Tiffany feels herself getting dizzy, the world tilting sideways. Chris opens her car door, almost gently, and helps her sit down. "You know what I want?" he tells her calmly, as if they're discussing something mundane. "Say it." Tiffany knows she's dying. She can feel her life draining away with each heartbeat that pumps more blood from the gaping wound in her neck. In this moment, she'll do anything, say anything to survive long enough to save her son. "I love you," she gasps through the blood pooling in her mouth. "I'll get back with you." "Seal it with a kiss," Chris demands. He leans in and kisses her, his lips pressing against hers as blood pours from her throat. It's a grotesque parody of affection, a twisted finale to their relationship. Then Chris tells her they need to come up with a story before she calls 911. Tiffany agrees to whatever he wants, but first she has to get out of this remote location. She has to get somewhere visible, somewhere she can explain to emergency operators where she is. Most importantly, she has to get her baby to safety. Somehow, and the paramedics will later call it a miracle, Tiffany manages to drive. One hand grips the steering wheel while the other presses against her throat, trying desperately to hold back the torrent of blood. In the back seat, little Ethan sits in his car seat, unaware that his mother is bleeding to death just feet away from him. Chris follows in his own vehicle, making sure she doesn't deviate from the plan. When Tiffany reaches a bus stop in front of Davis High School, a location she can describe to 911, Chris allows her to make the call. Asterisk, asterisk, 11:40 p.m. The 911 call asterisk, asterisk. What is the address of your emergency? I'm in front of Davis High School. Tiffany's voice is weak, already fading. What happened? I tried to commit suicide. Please help me quick. Michelle, the dispatcher, immediately recognizes the urgency in Tiffany's voice. Years of experience tell her this caller is in serious trouble. How much are you bleeding? A lot. My shirt is soaked. Do you have a dry, clean cloth that you can apply pressure to her neck? Michelle asks Chris, who has taken the phone. I got my shirt, he responds, his voice eerily calm. Within minutes, sirens pierce the night air. Sheriff's deputies and an ambulance arrive at the scene. The moment there are officers between her and Chris, Tiffany changes her story. Chris did this, she gasps to Deputy Sorensen. He tried to kill me. Keep him away from me. Save my baby. When Sergeant Derek Thompson arrives at the scene just after midnight, he has absolutely no idea what he's walking into. All he knows is that a woman has been found with her throat cut and her estranged husband is somehow involved. The crime scene tells a confusing story. There's blood on the outside of Tiffany's car door. How did it get there if she cut herself inside the vehicle? The blood patterns don't make sense for a suicide attempt. Thompson and his partner, Lieutenant Sarah Daley, soon discover there's actually a second scene, the isolated park, where Tiffany and Chris first met. More blood stains the ground there, confirming that the attack happened outside the vehicle, not inside it. This woman tried to cut herself and she's clearly injured. Thompson reasons, to get in a car and drive, did that make sense? Didn't make sense at all, Daley responds. At the hospital, doctors work frantically to save Tiffany's life. The wound is devastating. It runs from one side of her neck to the other, stopping just millimeters short of her carotid artery on one side. A fraction of an inch deeper, and she would have died within seconds. She just about cut off her head, one surgeon will later testify. There was no way she could have done that to herself, and not that deep. Lieutenant Daley arrives at the hospital to take Tiffany's statement. Even years later, the image will stay burned in her memory, the young mother lying in the hospital bed, a massive bandage wrapped around her throat, but her eyes fierce with determination to tell her story. Tiffany describes the attack in chilling detail. The isolated meeting place, Chris's determined expression, the bear hug, the blade across her throat, the kiss sealed in her own blood. She explains how Chris forced her to call 911 and claimed she'd attempted suicide, how he told her they needed to get their story straight. He told me not to bring anyone, Tiffany tells Daley. He kept reminding me to come alone. Come alone. This detail sends chills down Daley's spine. This wasn't a crime of passion or a moment of rage. This was premeditated. Chris Ertman had planned this. Back at the station, Chris Ertman sits calmly in the interview room, shirtless. His clothes have been taken as evidence they're soaked in his wife's blood. But his demeanor is what strikes Thompson the most. Chris shows no emotion, no concern, no distress. Why are you here tonight? Thompson asks. Well, she tried to commit suicide, and I helped her out, Chris replies matter-of-factly. I didn't exactly help her out, but I tried to save her. I assisted in saving her. According to Chris, Tiffany has a history of mental health issues. He claims she was taking antidepressants and had been suicidal before. He portrays himself as the hero who tried to save her life. But Thompson notices something odd. Chris never once asks about Tiffany's condition. He doesn't ask if she's alive or dead, whether she'll survive, or where his children are. For someone whose wife just tried to kill herself in front of their toddler, Chris Ertman seems remarkably unconcerned. Was he concerned about his estranged wife? Thompson later recalls. No, he didn't ask once how she was doing, and he never asked where his child was. When Thompson presses Chris for details about what happened, Chris becomes evasive. I don't remember it, he says. If you don't mind, I really don't want to talk about it anymore. Why wouldn't you remember? It just happened a few hours ago, Thompson challenges him. Chris has no answer. His inability or unwillingness to provide details raises massive red flags for the investigator. The evidence is damning, but Thompson and Daley face a serious problem. This is a classic he said, she said case. No witnesses saw the attack. The weapon, presumably a knife, is nowhere to be found. Without more concrete evidence, proving Chris's intent to murder could be nearly impossible. People don't commit suicide that way, Daley insists. Especially for a mother to do it in front of her child. It didn't make sense to me. Chris Ertman is arrested and charged with attempted murder, but as the investigation continues, both detectives worry their case might not be strong enough. 1 month after the attack, the judge presiding over Chris's case receives an unexpected letter. It's typed unsigned with a return address from Linda Olson in Ogden. I am a good friend of Tiffany, the letter reads, but I can't see letting this happen to Chris. For his kid's sake, Tiffany cut her own throat and is trying to frame Chris. The letter corroborates exactly what Chris has been claiming all along. If it's authentic, it could destroy the prosecution's entire case. Thompson immediately begins investigating Linda Olson. He runs the driver's license of every woman with that name in Utah who roughly matches Tiffany's age group. The result? Nothing. The address on the letter doesn't exist. Linda Olson appears to be a fictional person. I didn't even know anyone named Mary at the time, Tiffany tells investigators when shown the letter. There's no doubt in my mind that Chris did it. But suspecting Chris wrote the letter and proving it are two different things. Without handwriting analysis or concrete evidence, the letter remains a troubling mystery. Prosecutors Michael Larson and Kevin Nelson face another challenge, proving Chris's intent. The defense could argue that Chris only meant to injure and scare Tiffany, not kill her. After all, he let her call 911. He gave her his shirt to stop the bleeding. Without the smoking gun, or in this case, the knife proving attempted murder, beyond a reasonable doubt would be difficult. If the jury believes this was aggravated assault rather than attempted murder, Chris could be out of prison in just 1 year. What's your fear if he gets out? The prosecutors ask Tiffany. He'll try it again, she responds without hesitation. Sarah Daley feels the weight of this case crushing down on her. She knows that keeping Chris Ertman locked up is the only way to keep Tiffany alive. I was internally angry, Daley remembers. I couldn't even wrap my head around it that you could do that to a human being in front of a child, and a year later, you're free to walk around. Lieutenant Daley makes a decision that will change everything. She starts listening to Chris Ertman's jail phone calls. Every inmate in the Davis County Jail is warned repeatedly that all phone calls are subject to recording and monitoring, but Daley knows from experience that people often forget this in the heat of conversation. I really wanted a confession, Daley explains, because if we got the confession that showed his intent, then I knew we could put him away longer. For 3 months, Daley listens. Anne listens some more. Hundreds of phone calls, endless hours of mundane conversations about nothing. Colleagues walk past her office and shake their heads. I can't believe you're still listening to these, they tell her. Neither can I, Daley responds. I would like to stick pencils in my ears. After 3 months with no revelations, Daley reluctantly gives up, but something nags at her gut feeling that won't go away. My gut kept telling me, you've got to keep listening. It's there, she recalls. So she starts again, picking up exactly where she left off. She's now listening to calls from December 2013, 5 months after the attack. Then, on one ordinary afternoon, everything changes. Chris is talking to his father about mundane jail business when he suddenly says, write down this name, Marcus. Yeah. And tell Ryan to just Facebook him and tell him that I'm in here. Daley grabs a yellow sticky note and writes down the name. She has no idea if it's significant, but something about Chris's tone catches her attention. Over the next several calls, Chris mentions this dude repeatedly. He needs his father to contact Marcus urgently. He needs Marcus's address so he can write to him. Chris only mentioned his friend's name once, Daley later explains, but that's all I needed. She pulls the sticky note off her desk, it's stuck to her index finger, and walks down the hallway to Thompson's office. I need you to find this guy, she tells him, holding up her finger with the note attached. Find him for me. Finding Marcus turns out to be easier than expected. He's a former inmate who served time with Chris in the Davis County Jail on a methamphetamine possession charge. Now, out on probation, Marcus agrees to come in for an interview. At first, Marcus is cooperative but cautious. He's done his time, he's trying to stay clean, and he's not sure why the police want to talk to him about his time in jail. Thompson brings up Chris Ertman's name, and Marcus's entire demeanor changes. Did you get to know any of the inmates in there? What about a guy named Chris Ertman? Oh yeah, Marcus responds carefully. Yeah, he's a quiet guy. Did he ever talk about the situation he was in with his ex-wife? Marcus hesitates. What happened in jail stayed in jail, man. But Sarah Daley sees an opening. She leans forward and appeals to Marcus's conscience. There's a time to do what's right, she tells him. This is one of those moments in your life that you can start with that. It works. Marcus takes a deep breath and makes his decision. What do you want to know specifically? He asks. Just tell me about his conversations. Marcus's revelation hits like a bombshell. He admitted it. He's the one that cut her throat. For prosecutor Michael Larson, this is the crucial break they've been waiting for. Up until this point, Chris has maintained that he had no involvement in Tiffany's injuries. But he told Marcus the truth. And there's more. Marcus describes a handwritten letter Chris gave him to copy once he got out of jail, a letter supposedly from Chris's wife to the judge, claiming that Tiffany had lied and the allegations were false. This sounds remarkably similar to the mysterious Linda Olson letter. If they can find Chris's original handwritten letter, they can prove he's been orchestrating a campaign to discredit Tiffany and obstruct justice. Let's get that letter, Thompson says immediately. Where is it? I have to find it, dude, Marcus responds. I think it's in Ogden. But Thompson isn't finished. He decides to take a shot in the dark with one more question. Did he ever ask you to do anything to Tiffany? Marcus goes quiet. The room seems to hold its breath. Yeah, he finally admits. Tell me about that. He just asked me if I had the connections to arrange for bad things to happen to her. What are bad things? Daley leans forward, her heart pounding. To arrange her death, specifically, the room erupts in barely contained excitement. Chris Ertman, from inside his jail cell, tried to hire a hitman to kill the wife he'd already tried to murder once. At that moment, we realize this has gone to a whole new level, Larson recalls. We've got somebody who's in custody that is still trying to orchestrate the death of his victim. When Thompson and Daley inform Tiffany that Chris tried to have her killed, she breaks down completely. He wanted to have someone else do what he couldn't, she whispers. I remember everyone was asleep. I was just sitting on the floor, crying and rocking back and forth, wondering if I could ever leave the house again. The detectives now have evidence of a solicitation to commit murder, but they need more. Marcus eventually finds the handwritten letter Chris gave him. Handwriting analysis confirms it matches Chris's writing, giving them the evidence they need for obstruction of justice charges. But for the solicitation charge to stick, they need Chris on camera, confirming that he wants Tiffany dead. The team devises a plan. They'll send Marcus back in for a video visit with Chris wearing a wire. The goal is to get Chris to confirm he wants the hitman hired. During the video visit, which the jail records, Marcus brings up the letter first. I've still got that letter, dude. I've got that ready, bro. You want me to send it? Yeah, you can do that, Chris confirms, giving them the obstruction charge on tape. Then Marcus moves to the real target. Remember that work that you needed done, though? Yeah, dude. I've got that guy, bro. But Chris pulls back. I can't do it at this time, though. Let's just wait on that. Without Chris explicitly giving the green light, they don't have enough for the solicitation charge. And they've now used up Marcus as a source. It seems like a dead end. It sucked, Thompson admits. There was devastation. It was like, where do we go from here? But Sarah Daley refuses to give up. Just when the case seems stalled, another jailhouse informant contacts Daley, someone she's worked with before. This informant, whose identity remains protected, is back in the Davis County Jail, housed in the same cell block as Chris Ertman. He's a bad guy, Daley explains carefully. He's hurt people. You wouldn't want to meet him in an alley. But he's also someone who occasionally provides reliable information in exchange for considerations on his own cases. The informant tells Daley that Chris is trying to hire someone to kill Tiffany. And this time, if anybody could make it happen, it's this particular inmate. This heightened it even more for me, Daley recalls. The team decides to set up an elaborate sting operation. They'll introduce Chris to someone posing as a hitman, an undercover cop named Daniel Kelly who works in narcotics and knows how to handle informants and maintain cover identities. The plan is risky. Chris might refuse to cooperate, he might suspect a trap, and there's always the question of entrapment. Don't you worry about the defendant claiming this was entrapment? Prosecutors are asked. Not at all, Prosecutor Kevin Nelson responds. The case law is very clear. It's only entrapment if the government is convincing somebody to do something they wouldn't otherwise do. You don't go and say, hey, can I do this for you? It's, I've heard you want me to do this. Is that correct? Kelly visits the informant at the jail while hidden cameras record everything. The informant has told Chris that he's meeting with someone who can help him out with his Tiffany problem. In the video, you can see Chris Ertman in the background, watching Kelly carefully. He's sizing up the supposed hitman, trying to determine if this person can really do what he needs done. But instead of talking directly to Kelly, Chris hands the informant a piece of paper, an address. It's where Tiffany is currently staying. Is it the correct address? Kelly later asks. It is, Thompson confirms. It shows he's starting to take the bait. But prosecutors need more than an address. They need Chris to explicitly
and then
confirm
got
that he
out
wants
and
his
was
ex-wife
walking into
killed.
the house
The
as if
team
she
asks
just got
Tiffany
home
to
from
participate
shopping,
in
and we
staged
took
surveillance photos. She bravely agrees, posing outside her house with
I
shopping bags,
remember
as if someone has
everyone
been
was
watching her
asleep,
comings and
just
goings.
sitting on the floor.
The detectives take multiple photos from different angles. Kelly prepares to return to the jail with these photos, but then the entire operation nearly collapses. The jailhouse informant, true to his unreliable nature, suddenly demands to be released from jail or he won't cooperate any further. I was not very happy, Prosecutor Nelson remembers. We weren't going to be extorted by someone trying to leverage us with evidence of a potential first-degree felony. They move the informant out of the cell block immediately, but Thompson is convinced the damage is done. The informant has surely warned Chris that something is up. It's all over, Thompson thinks. All this hard work just became unraveled by a career criminal. But Sarah Daley isn't ready to quit. I wanted the undercover cop to still go in, she insists. Only visit Chris this time. No, it's not going to work, her colleagues argue. I don't care, Daley responds. I'm doing it anyway. 6 days after the first visit, Daniel Kelly walks back into the visitor's entrance of the Davis County Jail. He asks to see Chris Ertman directly this time, without the informant present. Back in her office, Sarah Daley watches the clock and prays. I was a basket case, she admits. I seriously had butterflies in my belly to the point I thought I was going to throw up, waiting and tick-tock, tick-tock. The big question, will Chris pick up the phone? I can hear myself talking. Please, Lord, please let him pick up that phone. Please help her, Daley recalls, and the next thing I know, I'm on the phone with him. Chris Ertman has taken the bait. Kelly, maintaining his cover as a hitman, needs to get Chris to confirm several critical things on camera. That Tiffany is the target, that he wants her dead, and that he's authorizing the hit. I took a couple pictures and just want to verify with you, Kelly says casually, showing Chris the surveillance photos through the glass. Do you see that? Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Is that her? Yeah. One confirmation down. Now Kelly needs to make sure Chris understands what he's authorizing. Some people say, yeah, I want to kill my wife. And then other people say, I want to kill my wife. Kelly explains carefully. Speaking in code since they both know the call is recorded. Make it happen? Yeah, Chris confirms. Just, have fun. Have fun becomes his code phrase for murder. Kelly presses the point multiple times, making absolutely certain there's no misunderstanding. You're saying all the way, right? Not, yeah, have fun, Chris repeats. 3 or 4 times I tried to say things like, this is all the way, and making him affirm that, Kelly later explains. And he just says, yeah, go have fun. Kelly even asks about timing. Is there a time period? No, Chris responds. Sooner the better. Then comes the discussion of price. Kelly has literally Googled going rate for murder to come up with a figure. I'm thinking about $5,000. Does that work? Yeah, Chris agrees. Kelly makes one final push to be absolutely certain. Just so we're clear, I'm talking about there's no way to come back from it once I do this. I know you're good with that? Yeah, it's good. 5,000's good. Okay, well, I'm planning on taking care of it this weekend. Okay. Back in her office, Sarah Daley receives the news she's been desperately hoping for. I went from complete despair that we lost this case to elation in the blink of an eye, she recalls. It was the best feeling ever. We knew this was a solid case, and we knew we could get the conviction now. Daley immediately calls Tiffany with the news. I was so relieved, Tiffany remembers. That was probably the safest I had been since all of it started. Chris Ertman now faces 3 serious charges: attempted murder, obstruction of justice, and solicitation to commit aggravated murder. That man committed more felonies in jail than he did when he was free, Sarah Daley notes with dark irony. Rather than go to trial, Chris accepts a plea deal. He pleads no contest to all charges. In court, he tries to claim PTSD from his military service in Iraq as a mitigating factor. I'll take blame for it, he tells the judge. Yeah, I did it, but I was not in my right mind. I'm not dangerous. Chris says he was suffering from PTSD, prosecutors note. We don't buy it. We had no actual diagnosis of PTSD. We believed that was fictional and that he was only saying it to try and negate his personal accountability. Under Utah law, Chris's sentence is indeterminate. He could spend anywhere from 6 years to the rest of his life in prison. The decision of when or if he's ever released will be made by the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole. For Tiffany, this means she'll have to face parole hearings for years to come, reliving her trauma repeatedly to convince the board that Chris remains dangerous. Sarah Daley makes a promise. In my career, I have never attended a parole hearing, and I won't miss one of his. I hope I can help keep him there as long as possible. He's that dangerous. 5 years after the attack, Tiffany sits for an interview about her ordeal. The physical scars are impossible to hide. A thick, rope-like scar runs across her throat from one side to the other. Every time you look in the mirror, are you reminded of that night? She's asked. I avoid looking in the mirror as much as possible, she responds quietly. But the psychological scars run even deeper. Tiffany describes the new fears that now dominate her life, fears most people never think twice about. Driving at night, she lists the sound of dripping water. Dripping water? Why? Because I heard my blood dripping in the car. Into a pool. Despite everything, Tiffany has rebuilt her life. She has a new husband who supports her. Her 2 sons are growing up healthy and safe. And she has her guardian angel, Sarah Daley, who continues to fight for her. At Chris's parole hearing, Tiffany delivers a powerful statement. I wake up every morning wondering if today is going to be the day that Chris will send someone to have fun killing me, she tells the board, using Chris's own coded language against him. If he's ever released, there is no doubt in my mind he will come for me and he will finish what he started. Please help me keep my kids safe. The board denies parole. Chris Ertman will remain behind bars. After the hearing, Sarah Daley hugs Tiffany tightly. I'm so happy. You did such a good job. You were strong. She's moved mountains, Tiffany says of Daley. She's helped save my life. For Daley, this case represents everything she became a police officer to do. I got involved in this job in 1989 to help people, she reflects. And I can say I helped one person. This true crime case demonstrates several critical truths about domestic violence and attempted murder investigations. Asterisk, asterisk, the importance of the first 48 hours. Asterisk, asterisk. In the first 48 hours after Tiffany's attack, investigators had to make crucial decisions with incomplete information. The conflicting stories, the missing weapon, and the unusual circumstances could have derailed the case entirely. But Detective Thompson and Lieutenant Daley's instincts told them something wasn't right, and they trusted those instincts. Asterisk, asterisk, domestic violence escalation. Asterisk, asterisk, Tiffany's case shows the deadly progression of domestic abuse. It started with emotional abuse and controlling behavior. When Tiffany finally found the courage to leave, Chris's need for control escalated to violence. When that violence failed to kill her, he tried to hire someone else to finish the job. This pattern repeats in domestic violence cases across the country. Asterisk, asterisk, the power of persistence. Asterisk, asterisk, Sarah Daley listened to hundreds of hours of phone calls when most investigators would have given up. She trusted her gut when the evidence seemed impossible to find. Her refusal to quit literally saved Tiffany's life, not just from the original attack, but from the subsequent murder for hire plot. Asterisk, asterisk, the danger doesn't end with arrest. Asterisk, asterisk. One of the most chilling aspects of this 48 hours true crime case is that Chris remained dangerous even from behind bars. Jail cells couldn't contain his desire to silence Tiffany permanently. This is a stark reminder that domestic violence victims often face continued danger even after their abusers are incarcerated. Asterisk, asterisk, the courage of survivors. Asterisk, asterisk, Tiffany's bravery cannot be overstated. She survived an attack that should have killed her. She testified against her attacker. She participated in the undercover operation, posing for fake surveillance photos, knowing there was a real plot to murder her. And she continues to show up at every parole hearing, refusing to let Chris Ertman walk free. Today, Tiffany lives with the permanent reminder of that July night in 2013. The scar across her throat will never fade. The nightmares may never completely stop, but she's alive. She's raising her children, she's built a new life, and somewhere in a Utah prison, Chris Ertman sits in a cell, knowing that Sarah Daley will be at every single parole hearing, making sure he stays there. Asterisk, asterisk, if this true crime story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We share stories of survival, justice, and the incredible investigators who refuse to give up on victims. Share this video to raise awareness about domestic violence and the warning signs that can save lives. Drop a comment below telling us what you think about this case. Should Chris Ertman ever be released? Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, remember, if you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You are not alone, and help is available. Asterisk, asterisk.